Hello and welcome back, and today let's look back at The Walking Dead and talk about who I think is the most wasted character in each season of The Walking Dead. And The Walking Dead went on for a while, so we have a lot of characters to get through. So let's jump right into season 1. I'm going to have to say Jackie. She doesn't really do much. Think about it. So Jackie's introduced in episode 2. She's a background character. For the rest of the season, we don't get any deep dives into her. The cast is quite small, but she's just there a lot of the time. She doesn't get many speaking roles. And then in episode 6, she offs herself with Jenna. That's all she does. Season 2 is T-Dog, and he is a character who actually had something to do in season 1. Some fans really loved him. Season 2, he spends half the season injured and sick, and the rest of the season as a background character that doesn't really get much to do. He's never really out there looking for Sophia. He's never really involved in any of the conflicts at the barn and the farm. He is just there a lot of the time. Season 3 is Axel, and what makes him such a wasted character is many reasons. One, the original plans for Axel were so much better than what we got. They originally planned to have Axel adapt a very dark storyline that The Walking Dead just kind of skipped altogether, and Axel originally was going to kill Beth, but they changed it from him being a serial killer to that he just did armed robbery, and the Axel we got on the show is still good, but it wasn't as good as what the original plans for this season was. I like the Axel from season 3. He gelled with the group well, and he had a nice bond with Carol, but then they just suddenly kill him off, and it is just never mentioned again. He was just there to be an extra death in this season. Season 4 is Rosita. She might be a fan favourite character, but go back and watch season 4. She does absolutely nothing. She barely says anything. She is just there in season 4 to be Abraham's girlfriend. That's all she does. She is just there in season 4. Season 5 is Beth. You have half a season building her up to be this new, developed character, just for her to off herself, basically, by killing Dawn, or stabbing Dawn, should I say, and that gets Dawn killed, and then she ends up being killed herself. It is a messy end for a character. I could have almost put Noah here, but I feel like Beth ever so slightly deserves wasted character, because we saw how there was so much potential with Beth at the start of this season, at the end of season 4, just for the outcome we got in the mid-season finale. Season 6, I'm going to give it to Spencer, and he is only in the season so that we can get to season 7, so that he can get his season 7 comic death. I just can't really think of much that Spencer did in season 6. He's just there a lot of the time, and season 6 is a really hard season, and definitely the hardest one for me, because I feel like every character in season 6 actually has something to do. But if I had to be really nitpicky and not going for really small characters, I would probably say out of the major cast and ensemble part of the cast, I would say Spencer is probably the most wasted. You could have done so much more. He could have been attached to the slight rebellion storyline we got very briefly in episode 1 of season 6, but no, he's just there a lot of the time, just so that they can kill him off in the next season. Now, season 7 is Sherry. What were they thinking with Sherry? They have her be in season 6, season 7, and you think she's going to be a big character like Dwight? No, she just disappears by the mid-season finale, and that's the last you hear of Sherry. It baffles me why they wrote her out. She had such potential, and she's a major character in the Savior arc in the comics, and she makes it almost to the Commonwealth arc. That's how much of an important character she is. She's around for a very long time, but in the show, they set her up really well in season 6, I think, and they do start to do something interesting with season 7, but then she disappears after freeing Daryl. I think it's just poor writing around Sherry. Season 8 is Jesus. He just becomes a lackey. They try to set him up in season 6. I think season 6 sets him up well. Season 7 is disappointing, but I gave that to Sherry. So I feel like I have to mention Jesus for season 8. What does he do in season 8? He fights Morgan, and he is Maggie's moral compass. That's all he does. He is not this ultra cool character that can take everyone out. He's seen as naive at times, and he is a little annoying. So definitely Jesus in season 8. Now season 9 is Sydney, and what makes her so wasted is that the first 5 episodes do set up Sydney to be a really cool and interesting character, and with that storyline with Oceanside and the Saviors, and that's really cool. But then Rick disappears. There's a 6-year time jump that is forgotten about, and you don't see her again to episode 15. It is really poor writing, and because there's so much going on in season 9, and there's so much shuffling around, so many time jumps, she just gets forgotten about. And it's really annoying because what they were starting to do with her was really, really cool. And that's probably the most interesting Sydney's been. But then they're like, no, we gotta do this, this, and this, and bam, that's dropped. And that really does suck. Now, season 10 is Laura, and she is a nice kind of minor character from season 7 to season 9, I would say. She's a good recurring saviour in season 7 and 8. She's a nice character in season 9 on the council. And then season 10, she doesn't really do anything. Like, think about it. She's in one scene that I can remember from season 10, and that's a death scene, and it's so badly done. You had Angela Kang had to confirm later on that yes, Laura did die in this episode. It baffles me how she was a recurring character, and then she gets maybe one scene in season 10 and she's dead. Why? She was a really interesting character. They could have done so much more with her, and that was her story. She does come back in a flashback episode, Here's Negan, but I'm not counting that because that's a flashback episode. The Laura we got in the timeline of the Whisperer arc, she had one scene in one episode really, and it was so bad the showrunner had to confirm, yes, she died in this episode. And now finally, season 11 is Pope, and he's easily one of the worst villains in The Walking Dead, but definitely one of the most wasted characters. He only met one protagonist, and that was Daryl. Every other character he didn't meet. And what I think makes him so wasted is that he does absolutely nothing in the Reaper arc. Think about it. Pope makes some speeches, he kills some of his own people, and then he gets killed by Leah. That is all Pope does. He doesn't do anything menacing, and I think there's too many Reapers, which spreads Pope's task out. You could have combined maybe Carver and Pope to give Pope more to do. Maybe drop Leah, because Leah ends up becoming the big villain by the end of the arc anyway. So you could have had Pope do all that, which Leah does. I know they tried to have that Leah-Daryl connection, so if you don't want to drop Leah, drop Pope. He is the most pointless villain, just because of how little he does, and how he is killed by his own people. He amounts to absolutely nothing, and that's why he deserves season 11's most wasted character. And as always, this is just my personal opinion, so please tell me down in the comments, do you agree, do you disagree, and if you disagree, what are your picks for each season and most wasted character? As always, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you later.